Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fuel for Success, episode number 287. And this episode is brought to you by the letter J.
Spit it out, my friend.
Yeah,
Mike and I
awesome.
For the show, we've had the time of our lives. I mean, I wish, Mike, we could just release. We'd have to sell it for like $250, our pre-show chats. And then we'd have to edit probably like half of them.
Yeah.
So they're fun, though. Keeps it interesting, my friend. That's why we're so excited on Fuel for Success. We hang out pre-show in the green room, baby. Anyways, Mike, how are you, my friend? Episode 287. How's things going in Minnesota, man? Tell me three things that's new with you.
It's awesome. You'd think after 287 episodes I'd get the intro smooth, but hey, you know, everybody has their day. It's a beautiful day here in Minnesota. Our good friend Amber's down from Canada hanging with us, and her and Carol have a bunch of cool stuff planned today, so that's awesome. And it is springtime here, so I love to forage. If you know me, morels are in season, wild leeks are in season, fiddleheads, all that stuff, so that makes me happy. I just go for a walk in the park, pick some stuff, bring it home, and cook it. And nice. Nature's a bounty. So that's
more organic than that, my friend.
You do want to be careful, though. Just a quick tip for anybody watching. You want to stay away from, like, the park trails and stuff because they do sometimes spray chemicals and stuff. Go back in the woods where they don't have those chemicals and pick your wild edibles. Exactly. How are you, man? How's Florida?
Mike, it's been perfect. We've been blessed with perfect weather lately. I mean, it's hot, you know, but that's what I signed up for. So I'm not one of these Floridians that complain. I signed up for this, you know. So it's been a little hot here. Things are good, though. Business is good. Just trying to grind it out. And, Mike, the next level is the longest grind. Sometimes people think, you know, overnight success. Yeah, it's like overnight success. It's a long grind. But anyways, things are good. Trying to think if I had to name three things that are new with me. Oh, Caleb's book. I'm going to be sending you the final copy. So that should be out next week for sure.
Very cool.
I've really been into swimming lately because it's a good form of exercise. So I've been a daily swimmer, and I have a new health drink that I've created that I will probably share on Tuesday's show. And I might not even share it on Tuesday's show. I might only share it with our My Health 90 people only. Maybe I'll shoot them a personal video telling them my new health drink creation here. So everything is good, man. Everything is really good. Just doing a lot of reading right now. I'm in a state of organizing where I'm like getting meticulously organized just because I feel like to go to the next level, you've got to be structured. You've got to make sure your process is, you know, in place, and your life has to be able to sustain. You know, a lot of people can't go up because they don't grow. You know, they don't they don't invest in themselves to make themselves better to be able to handle the next level. Or, you know, like for example, I mean, you know, let's say that, you know, let's say your business has the breakthrough that it wants. Are you ready for it? And I think a lot of business people might struggle in the readiness. And because, you know, it's our dreams are so big and so down the road that we forget that we actually got to prepare to be the kind of person that can manage millions, that can lead a staff of 150. You know, think about it. I mean, right now, if you're a small business and you only got 2 employees, that's easy. But what about when you grow and you have 200 employees? Are you prepared? So that's why you should be reading. You should be growing. You should grow to where you want to be, not to where you are.
Yeah. I'm not sure that having a business with 2 employees is necessarily easy either, but I understand the contrast. Hey, real quick though, is there any way, and you said that Caleb's book is coming out next week, is there any way that we could arrange an interview with the author on the show?
Yeah,
you can make that happen. That would be great.
That's a great idea. He would enjoy that. He loves coming on the show.
Yeah, and we can tell people about the book, maybe show them a copy and all that stuff. Hey, let me ask you this, and I've got a bunch of questions, but as you were talking, I want to ask this question because I think it's a great question. This isn't one that we had in our queue and nobody asked it, but this is a question from Mike.
Mike, I want you to know this. It is our talk show. Literally, mine and yours. There are no rules on us. If you wanted that, you can ask me anything you want because it's our show, baby. Don't forget, how long has it been since we've reminded everyone this is our show?
That's
so,
right.
so
It's
I
our
don't,
show.
I don't really like what you said on Fuel for Success. Sorry, but it's our show.
Okay. Well, of
Okay,
course, we're here to serve. So the caveat
no,
that,
we
but
actually take criticism. Actually, I think you and I take criticism quite well. I really do. We
yeah.
always evaluate. We'll get a critical email. I'll email it to you, and I'll say, "Is this idiot right? I might should be straight, you know." But anyways, but if you
Keyword
got any
being
questions,
idiot. Is this
you got any
idiot
questions,
right?
Mike?
Did
I'll
you
say,
see the
Mike,
email from that loser?
can you go into my account because I give Mike my passwords. Mike could. I mean, I better trust Mike because this guy has access to like my brain, you know. But anyway, so Mike has my password, and I'll be like somewhere. I'll be like 911, block this sucker. Who is he? Block him. Unfriend him and
Yes.
block him.
There's some
Anyways, go
interesting
ahead.
people in the world. Well, let me ask you this, because I love what you said about investing in yourself and preparing yourself for the next level. And typically we talk a lot about business development, entrepreneurship, and sales on Thursdays, but let's go a little bit in the personal growth vein here for a second. And can you explain a few ways for the people that are watching right now, and you just touched on it, like investing in yourself, building yourself, making yourself ready for that next level? And my question to you, Matt, is what are some ways that if I'm watching the show and I'm like, yeah, I want to build my business to the next level, I want to build my relationships to the next level, I want my life to go to the next level, what are some ways that I can intentionally invest in myself that investment is going to pay off in the future?
Well, I think, Mike, okay, you got to be a freak about personal growth and you got to have a hunger to capture the lessons when they come. And Mike,
Yeah.
I have a hunger to learn. I really do. I'll give you an example. In my travels, I speak at a lot of churches. Do you know what one of my number one goals is? Is to seek out successful business people in those churches and pick their brain. And I'll tell
Yeah.
you how you can catch it. Okay, I'm going to tell you how you can catch it. I was just speaking at Chris Dillingham's church, and he kept mentioning a guy in the church who had a very successful business just in conversation. Well, I met the guy in passing, and then I told him, I said, hey, if you don't mind, I'd like to have like 5 minutes. I want to pick your brain about something. Well, after church, our paths crossed Sunday night, and I started drilling him with questions. It turned into like almost an hour conversation. And Mike, I grew so much. I walked away like my mind was expanded. You know, he was 3 years ago. You listen to what I'm about to tell you. 3 years ago, he was $600,000 in debt.
Wow.
He was extremely average in business. And listen, now this is going to blow people's mind. I said, bro, what was the secret of your success? And he said, God. Now listen, anytime somebody says that, I love it, but it also kind of ticks me off because I believe that, but there still has to be some secrets, right? And I
Right.
was like, well, now this is what I mean. You got to keep digging. I said, well, let me ask, what do you mean by that when you say God? Like, I know what you mean, like God, you know. He said, no, seriously, Matt. He goes, I never prayed about my business. I never made God my business partner. He said, I never
Wow.
would ask God, you know, I would be stuck on something. And he has a consulting business, okay?
Hmm.
And he consults like doctors. And he said, that is a tough industry to break into. And he said, literally, Matt, now listen, this is where you start catching the lessons. I said, okay. Well, okay, as simple as it sounds that he like prayed over every business decision, prayed and asked God to say, okay, God is, you know, what's going to help this business grow? Teach me. I don't know how to build this. I don't know how to market. Teach me how to market. Like we
Right.
assume go to books and we should go to books. But
Sure.
our first source is God because when you think about it, Mike, God created a world. You don't think he can show you how to take your business from $10,000 in sales to 10 million in sales? I'm not kidding. God has the answer for that. And Mike, that just, it fired me up to get back to pausing, to saying, okay, God, I've got to shoot these sales videos. Can you show me what I should say? God, I want 1,000 more customers. Can you show me the fastest way to do it? And really like almost waiting on God to, really partnering with God. And I know for some of those out there that maybe you don't have a spiritual mind, you might be thinking I'm psycho, but go ahead and do it your way. I'm going to do it my way, baby. Our way,
Yeah.
Mike. And our way is, our God is our partner and God is our leader. And we literally believe in a God first, lifestyle, but it's got to be more than just a cliche, God first, right? It's got to be like hit your knees and say, okay, God, before I call this frustrated customer, give me wisdom when I talk to them. Like, who pauses and does that? God, I'm getting ready to go close this client. Give me favor and shut the door if you don't want it, God. I mean, how many people give their business to God and say, now, God, even though I want this customer, if it's
Right.
not what's best for our business, I want this deal to go through, right? So anyways, now I did give 2 other keys that I captured. He said, you know what? I don't market. Now listen, last 3 years ago, he was $600,000 in debt. Today he's debt free. And by December, he's going to have his house paid off. Blows my mind. He said,
Wow.
Matt, I can't even, he said, the only thing I can tell you is my success comes from literally giving my business to God and letting him lead it. Secondly, is he said, I am brutally honest. And he said, I think that's what's caused me to win with doctors. He said, I'm not like in your face honest. I'm not like annoy you honest. I'm just honest. And he said, they can feel that. And then he started talking about being genuine and being real. And he said he never markets. He said, my business is one of the fastest growing consulting firms in the medical field. He said, I'm blowing people out of the water that's been in business for 20 years. He wasn't bragging. He kept going back to God. And I said, yeah, but what separates you? Mike, I know how to dig, man. I said,
Yeah.
what separates you? He said, I do what I say I'm going to do. He said, I deliver exceptional customer service. He said, you know what? I think I probably have the best customer service. I thought, there it is. I literally could have written an article right then and there. If I was to write an article, I could give you 5 things that I picked up from that guy. You want to know what they are? He turned his business over to God. He excelled on keeping his word. He excelled on honesty. He excelled on being authentic. And he excelled on customer service. Those are the 5 lessons. So only somebody that has a growth mind, Mike, could even pick that up on somebody. How many other business people would have met him? Now, do you think he knows one thing about my business? No, he doesn't. Do you think that in that hour conversation, I shared one lesson that I've learned? No, because there's a time and place for that.
Right.
This, right? This is the platform. There, I was learning. So, Mike, you can learn so much from other people. I would say turn to YouTube. If you're not watching YouTube videos, you are missing massive opportunity for growth. Fuel for Success is a major tool for personal growth. Books. I'm reading a book right now. It's an oldie. I like oldies, man. I like digging out oldies on Amazon. Because some of these guys that succeeded without technology, had massive success in business without Facebook, without Google, without YouTube, without, text, without cell phones. I like to read how these guys did it in the old-fashioned, and this guy has a book called If They Say No, Just Say Next. And it's like 24 secrets for going through like the no's, when people tell you no, chapter 2 talking about it's just good stuff. So, books, people, audio books, YouTube videos. Mike, there's so many resources for free. And then I would say this last thing, Mike, if anybody has the means to invest in a one-on-one coach, if for no other reason, one-on-one coaching gives you somebody to bounce things off of. It gives you somebody to ask you questions to get you thinking. It gives you somebody that can give you a little bit of an insight that might be different from what you're thinking. It's somebody that's got a fresh set of eyes looking into your life. So I would say if you can afford it, and this ain't a sale for me and Mike, because really, to be honest, we don't really have that much time right now to even take on any more clients, but I would be obsessive about finding good life coaches. You know Jack Canfield? You ready for this? Jack Canfield's a billionaire. He's been on the New York Times bestseller list more than Stephen King for Chicken Soup for the Soul. Wow. He wrote The Success Principles. Jack Canfield, right now, who's a billionaire, has 14 life coaches, 14 different coaches. He said, I got a coach for, finances. I've got a coach for my health. I've got a coach for my attitude. I've got an attitude coach. I've got a speaking coach. I've got a writing coach. Like, Mike, the more that you invest, you know what? If you're not investing more in your mind and in your personal growth than you are your car, you're not going to make millions. You're not. People that make millions are people that are obsessive about personal growth. And I know I just kind of went on a long rampage, and I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. That was the question I asked you, and it was a great rambling diatribe there. So great insight and info, and with an excellent example. Couldn't have asked for more. And I love what you said about digging the information out of people that you meet. People are a wealth of information. All around us, there's people that have been successful in various aspects of life. All you have to do is open your eyes and look, and then get good at digging that information out, because that in itself is a personal growth skill. Once you're good at asking those questions and pulling those answers out and understanding, what the reality is of their situation and how they achieved success in whatever facet of life that you're asking them about, that's a life skill that is extremely valuable, and it's worth your time to develop. So great stuff there.
Yeah, good point too, actually.
I want to agree with Mary 100%. Journaling is a great tool for personal growth because it gives you introspection, and a lot of times self-evaluation is critical to the path of personal growth, because you need to understand, where am I not growing, right? It's like if you had a garden and you had different vegetables growing out there, you would just visually look at it and say, okay, where do I need to work here in the garden? Oh, there's a lot of weeds over here by the potatoes. I need to weed that. My carrots aren't really doing that good. Maybe I need to mulch around there, add some fertilizer. If you don't evaluate and you just go blindly in and just start messing around in the garden, you're not going to grow a garden very well. So, it's gardening season, so it's an apt analogy.
Mike, it's the analogy of the month so far. I mean, I gave out a good analogy the other day on the show, but that just beat it. I can't hang with your analogies, and it frustrates me. Anyways, that's what makes us, we're partners. You do analogies, I do what I do, which I don't know what it is, but I do something.
You fire people up, my friend.
Lance, what books do? Lance, I got to be honest. Questions for me come so natural, like they really do. I wish I could tell you that, I haven't read a book that's given me like a set of questions. I could actually probably write one. Like right now, I could come up with 25 questions right now that I would ask a millionaire. It's just natural for me, Lance, and you've got to let your mind just, let one question lead to another question and keep looking for the lesson. Like if I might meet a couple on a plane that's been married 65 years. I have. And I'll say, what's been the secret to that? How have you guys, and most people will give generic answers at first. Most will. But you've got to keep digging. You've got to keep asking. You've got to keep saying, you got to kind of spin questions a little differently to get their mind going and to make them feel like you really want to listen. Most people are hesitant to share their wisdom because so few people really want to hear it, And it's sad to me, Mike, the amount of people that are dying. You can learn something from everybody, literally.
It's true. And
I do, Mike. I don't care if I met somebody that just started a business a month ago. I would pick their brain. I'm not above asking somebody that's quote unquote below me. I don't. I'll learn from them. I have no problem with that. But anyways, there you go, Lance. Well, Lance, I could, and questions has got to become your number one focus because it could cause your relationships your communication with your kids could get so much better if you ask good questions. You could learn so much more from people. You could connect with people so much more. And I guess you know what? Here's my best advice, Lance. Have a curious mind. There it is. Be a curious George. Be curious, want to know, and be curious more. And don't be afraid of people thinking. You know how many people that have looked at me like, "Whoa, back off on the interview here." I'm like, "Hey, you know what? So let me ask you this: what makes you feel like I'm interviewing you?"
Yeah, you would. Um, I think
That's a good one. Go ahead, Mike.
ha- having genuine interest in what the person is saying is like key. You got to have the right motive going in asking the questions, right? And I like what Pacey said. A lot of people listen to respond instead of listening to hear. And you want to be like listening. You're trying to get the information out, and if you're genuinely interested in where they're at and what they have to share, it's going to lead you, excuse me, in the right direction as far as
Yeah,
asking questions, because you
good
have a
stuff.
goal of finding out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got about 5 minutes left. Mike, are there any other questions that we can dive into and help people with, man? Comments? My
A
question
lot.
90. Mike and I are going to have like 28 businesses centered around the word 90.
Yeah. Yeah, just
uh,
exactly. We need to clone us first, and then we'll be there quickly. Um, on a similar vein to personal growth, and let's just take a little bit of a business tact to it. Now let's just go here. Sometimes we do a sales tip of the day on Thursdays, and I'm going to change it up just a little bit. What's your best advice for someone that wants to be massively successful in sales?
Mike, if someone wants to be massively successful in sales, I would say real quick, because I do want to get to that question about complacency that I saw come in, because I had a thought about it.
Okay.
Massively successful is marry yourself to it. Become a salesman like an athlete becomes an athlete or an actor becomes an actor. So in other words, make it your craft, become a genius at it, master it, read every book on sales you can get your hands on, and sell. Start selling, start failing, start building, I would say develop a daily process. My number one mistake in sales, and I'll just be very transparent. I promise you, if I was focused as a salesman, I could make $1 million in a year in sales. However, my problem in the past and the big lesson I've learned is not living by a daily process of selling. Because a lot of salespeople will make their quota and then they'll stop. But if you have a daily process, it keeps you going in the good and the bad. The daily process is your daily process. However many sales attempts, calls, visits, prospecting, set your number and live or die by that number. Live or die by it. If it's 25 people a day, live or die by it. Mike, that would be my number one piece of advice for a salesperson.
Good.
Set a goal of how many prospects you need to touch and live or die by it. That day, every day. Do it daily. You're better off doing 5 touches a day than, look how much 5 touches a day would compound. I know it doesn't sound like much, and it's really not. And you definitely need to jack it up, especially if you read 10x. But that would be my advice. Mike, what do you think?
I like that. I like the fact of setting an absolute goal and running with it, and really a lot of it comes back to personal growth as well, right? Find a way to grow personally in sales by reading and learning and those sort of things, rather than becoming complacent. Which takes me to the question that we wanted to get to. Why do some people?
Real quick, Mike, on the daily number, especially for those entrepreneurs, self-employed people that nobody's looking over your shoulder. I went to Mike as a business partner. I said, look, here, I'm motivated personally by rewards and consequences. If I hit these numbers, this is what I want, maybe an Apple Watch. If I don't hit these numbers, I want you to tell me a consequence, so whatever it might be. And we've come up with some funny consequences, we really have. We should reveal that one day. But then, it's also good to stick by that. And then, but come up with a consequence that really hurts. That's not something that's like, for me, it's like, if you don't hit your numbers, you've got to, write this ugly girl and ask her on a date. That's not really bad consequence for me. You know what I mean? That's not pain for me. You'd have to come up with like maybe you're not allowed to watch a sunset or sunrise for 30 days. Well, that would get me going. You know what I mean? Something like
Yeah.
So you got to find out what drives you to rewards and what drives you to consequences. I'm motivated by both. Most people are motivated by one or the other. Most people just aren't motivated. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you. All the motivators in the world can't jack some people up. You're just not motivated. You're that stuck. You're like the dullest doll, like complacent. We just can't shake you. I'm sorry. I've tried to shake. You ever seen people, Mike, who just cannot motivate? That's frustrating.
Yes.
But anyways.
I have.
Let's close the show out, Mike, with complacency. You had a thought on rewards and consequences?
No.
No? All right.
I have plenty of thoughts, but I want to get to complacency because we're already at 25 minutes.
I have no inspiration on our show for our viewers. That's fine. Don't give inspiration to them. It's okay. Anyways, you're off the hook, my friend. We'll close it with complacency. Why don't you let me ask? Can I ask a question on our show? Is that okay? Or are you going to hog all the questions? I can't ask questions.
Ask away.
Mike, why do you think people become complacent? How can they avoid it, in your opinion?
I think the biggest reason that people become complacent is because that they fall into a routine and that they don't really give much thought to the routine, and they lose sight of the overall vision and the why they're doing the things that they're doing. And really, for any major aspect of your life, if you can't like put your finger on the why, then you probably shouldn't even be doing it. But I think that a lot of times people just lose sight of the vision, and so they become complacent, apathetic, those sort of things. And so I think really, in order to sort of avoid that complacency or maybe pull yourself out of that funk, one of the things that I think is important is you need to change things in your life. You need to make like physical changes, maybe new clothes, for example. If maybe you're in a business scenario, rearrange your office, do something, right? Make a change that helps you refocus and definitely go back to the why of why you're doing any part of your life in the first place. And if you really can't define that why, then you need to ask yourself, okay, why is this? Does this really need to be in my life? And, there's a bunch of different areas. I mean, complacency is a wide thing. It can be related to your work, your business, your relationships, your relationship with God, any of those things, personal growth. But, like I said yesterday, passion and being energized and engaged in any aspect of your life is critical to having, a full life. What are your thoughts on complacency, Matt?
Oh, that's good stuff. I'll close the show with it, Mike. That's really good stuff. I would say I like the part you said about, look, man, reorganize your office. Like, do something. Mike, complacency is normal, especially when you've had a little bit of success, especially when you start to feel comfortable. I've lived this. I've lived what it feels like to just get complacent because the grind is the grind. There's a reason they call it the grind.
Right.
The details, Mike, the details and the grind. Those that can push through those, valleys, I don't want to call them valleys, but just, the grind of building a business, the details of just the non-sexy work. It's not sexy at all. It's extremely not sexy. But anyways, what I would say is, Mike, you got to have an inner circle that protects you from complacency. You know what I mean by this? You have got to hang out with people who challenge the heck out of your thinking. Who you'll say, man, we just got 1,000 new customers, who will look at you, not degrading, but be like, that's it? Only 1,000? I thought you would have at least been able to get 5,000 this month. No joke, and mean it to where, if nothing else, it's like a buffer. Or there's somebody that's like, hey, I just read my 3rd book this week, and I want to tell you what they're on fire for life, just got done running, just got done eating, big old salad. Like, it's good to be around people that are not complacent. Right. So when you feel yourself complacent, the tendency is to avoid the people that are on fire, the people that are full of passion, the people that are clicking on all cylinders. It's actually the worst thing to do. Don't, don't, don't avoid people that are, having success or maybe put you to shame or you're embarrassed because Mike, when you're not performing, everybody knows. You know when you're not performing to the best of your ability. You know when you're not being a producer. You know what I love? I love that every time we sign on Fuel for Success, it asks you and I the question. It'll say, do you want to be a producer for the show? Yeah. And I always laugh because I'm like, you better believe I'm going to be a producer. I'm going to be a producer in life. But it's, Mike, when you get complacent, you've got to listen to stuff that jacks you up. You got to read stuff that jacks you up. You've got to set higher goals. You've got to punish the heck out of yourself for being complacent. You've got to get around somebody that challenges your thinking. Call somebody that's just thinks big, and I've got some people in my life that think so big. Lance, that's funny. I got some people that in my life that think so big that I literally get a little red in my face when I call them because I'm that embarrassed because I feel dull when I'm talking to them. I feel so like a nerd. I feel like a dweeb. I feel like a complete loser because I'm like, I hang out, I'm like, I suck. I have no vision, I have no passion, but it's good for me. It's a buffer. It shakes me. It gets me moving. It gets me realizing, and I follow people on Twitter that are movers and shakers. And when I read their tweets, I'm like, oh, I gotta hustle. I gotta get moving, And I got a vision board right here staring right in front of me in my office that helps me. There's many things I do, Mike. I'm a motivator. I have secrets to breaking complacency. But I can't give them all in our 11-minute show for sure.
Yeah, our 31 11-minute show. Good stuff. Hey,
you are an absolute trip. I love you. Mike, can you recap our show real quick?
Yeah, for sure. I don't remember what we opened with. There was something that was pretty good too. Anyway, so personal growth. Personal growth is critical. Don't become complacent. Maintain personal growth, and the 5 lessons that you learned from that businessman you met in Ohio. Valuable, great stuff. Go back and listen to that if you're in business, want to be in business, like business, or any of those. So,
Mike,
good stuff. Yeah.
When you get off this show, I'm not kidding. Quickly, grab those 3 words. And put a patent on them because I just had the most.
One of us got lost here. Can you all hear me? I think I lost Matt.
What is Auntie Ann? Auntie Ann! Mike, come back. But anyways, listen. Don't forget, Mike, we're done for the week. We'll be back on Tuesday for our show on health and weight loss. We'll be talking about some motivation. Mike, do something centered around those 3 words. Protect those 3 words, okay? Don't be fat. I'm going to close with that today. Anyways, we love you guys, and we'll be seeing you guys on Tuesday. If you guys like this show, share it on your Facebook, text it to friends, text it to your boss. Hi, boss. And also, go to iTunes. You can download our podcast, YouTube. Go to our website, fuelforsuccess.tv, and you can watch any of our 287 episodes on every subject that you can imagine. We love you guys. Yeah, and happy Memorial Day, too. Shout out to our soldiers and family of the soldiers. I mean that sincerely. We love you. Mike, what are you going to do on Memorial Day? You cooking out, my friend?
I'm not sure yet. We may have some rain, so we'll figure it out. We'll have some fun.
We cannot hear you.
You can't hear me at all?
He's out. His volume's out. He's going to cook out and chill and hunt and all that stuff. Love you, Mike. We'll see y'all Tuesday. God bless you, my friends.